Hey guys, welcome. This is Caesar with Inspire Movement, so very glad that you could join us. Today we're continuing with our series on servanthood, and we have none other than Mr. Ben Hoyer with Downtown CREDO. Downtown CREDO is a social enterprise that is improving the quality of lives by cultivating networks of meaning, impact, and community. Mr. Hoyer is also the president and COO of Rally, which is a social enterprise accelerator, as well as a board chair for Orlando Together. So without further ado, we're going to connect with Mr. Ben Hoyer. Mr. Ben, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Totally.
And for folks that may not know of Downtown CREDO or of you, can you just give us any sort of personal background information that I think you're willing to share?
Oh yeah, of course, man. I mean, Downtown CREDO grew out of me coming back to the city that I grew up in. I had been gone for like 10 years. And when we moved here, I had left a single college kid, and I came back, wife with 2 kids, and bought a house and knew I was going to be here indefinitely, and thought, if I'm moving into a city that I care about, the place ought to be different because I'm here. And I just started thinking about how do people leave a mark on a place? What is missing in Orlando? How might I be a person who makes the city different? And I really just started to think about this core conviction that your quality of life is more tied to who you're becoming than what you have. And if you become a person of meaning, impact, and community, then no matter how much stuff you have, you'll like your life better. So I really thought, if I want to live into this city and make the place different, I want to plant a flag for meaning, impact, and community. And then with everything I do, try and rally networks around those 3 pillars of meaning, impact, and community. And so I just kind of took that philosophy and built a strategy around that said, how do I create small steps for people to move towards that kind of life? And it was in the context of thinking about creating small steps for people to move towards a life of meaning, impact, and community that I remembered this friend of a friend back in Gainesville that was going down to Guatemala, buying coffee directly and roasting it. And I thought, man, the coffee supply chain is one place in the world where things aren't as they ought to be, but it's easier to get apathetic than to believe you can make an impact. And I wanted to create a small step for people to start towards impact. And so I went with him down to Guatemala, met the coffee growers, got it back here, opened a coffee shop, and started letting people name their price so that they might think about their place in the supply chain. Rather than just buying something, it's how could I join in on something that's making a positive impact in the world? It's kind of like the theory and the hope behind who Downtown CREDO is. There's a lot of other little tendrils. I mean, I've been running Downtown CREDO for 10 years now. So there's a lot of stuff that's come out of that kind of core mission of cultivating networks of meaning, impact, and community, which we could talk about for a long time, but maybe that's a good background for you.
Absolutely. So usually I like to throw this question into the mix just because we all have folks that have influenced us in some type of way to put us on the path that we want to be and should be in, and we're going to be more impactful.
Yeah.
Can you mention a little bit on anybody that you consider to be a mentor, whether it be familial or otherwise, that maybe planted a little bit of that seed for you to be doing what you're actively doing today?
Yeah, it's funny. I have had a lot of mentors in different areas of my life. When I get really confused and I can't figure out how to make decisions, I'll call my dad. My dad is a person who I respect. I like the way he's put together his life. He's not really in a lot of the same workspaces as me, but the way that he processes problems and how well he knows me is really helpful. So that's kind of my all-purpose in my back corner. When I got into coffee, I met this dude, Joey Chase, who's been in the coffee industry for over 2 decades, and he was a real helpful guide for me through the coffee industry. So he's been kind of a mentor in the coffee space for me. And then I have some mentors in the business space that have been helpful for me. One of the offshoots of CREDO is Rally, the social enterprise accelerator, and that's full of mentors there. So I've got all these business mentors I can pull on when I need stuff. I mean, my job really I see for CREDO is cultivating networks of people. So I've got networks of people all over. If I didn't, wouldn't be doing my job right. So I feel like I have a lot of mentors. It's funny.
So it's an ongoing list.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And at different stages of my life, I could think back through different people who have been really influential. My dad's probably the longest running one. My wife is like, I know that if my wife's not on board with an idea, it's probably a bad idea. So she's a really good person in the corner, always. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I side with you there.
Yeah, cool.
I'm beginning to, put the facade of the ego kind of on the side and kind of understand that, little lady has a lot of wisdom behind her, and I should start listening more often.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, like, getting my wife was an accomplishment. And so, like, I take advantage of her as much as I can, Yeah.
So I guess in that vein is, being that you've done this almost for a dozen years, I know you're a father, obviously, you alluded to it. Is the family somehow integrated to this enterprise as well, actively, or just
so
the
my
inspiration
kids,
behind it? Maybe?
No, that's cool. Yeah, I have 3 kids, 13, 11, and 6 right now, a boy and 2 girls, and they're awesome. And when I started it 10 years ago, they were all 10 years younger and one not a thought yet. So at different points, the kids have been around for different parts of it. Now I'm starting to think about when can I train my oldest to be a barista, which would be really fun. Megan, my wife, she's a full-time teacher. She comes into the decision-making on CREDO when there are big decisions to make. But one of the things is that I made a decision early on that other people can run CREDO, but nobody else can be a husband to my wife or a father to my kids. And so everything's got to fit inside of that role first. So I'm not one of these entrepreneurs that works 18-hour days or something. I'm just committed to being able to get home and have dinner and have that be the center of the life and all my work be an outgrowth of that. So it's funny when you ask, are they involved? All my life is integrated together. They're involved. They're the center of my life. They don't do a lot of tasks with work, though.
I like that.
Yeah, cool.
There's a synergy between work and family and everything in between.
Totally. They all run into each other, yeah. Yeah, like they were helping me move bags of coffee the other day, my kids. They don't go to, middle schoolers don't go to school till 9:30. So like I got to drop them off in the morning. Sometimes they just got to move milk to coffee shops with me. That's just how it goes,
So you are still, even to this day, a barista at your coffee shops?
So I don't take many shifts behind the counter.
Exactly, I figured.
First 3 years or so, I was behind the counter every day. But I do a lot of the supply runs, so I bring milk and move coffee around and make sure everybody's got what they need. Yeah.
So you're ever present.
Oh yeah, I'm in the coffee shops every day.
Every day.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's I think in Spanish, I'm a Hispanic culture. They say like you can't have somebody like run, if not your enterprise, your business sort of by remote control. You have to be very hands-on.
Oh, totally.
All the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I'm not someone who micromanages, but I have learned over the years that when you're running your own business, nobody pays attention to the numbers like you do. And it's almost unfair to ask an employee to care about the business as much as I do. And so there's certain things that only I can do well, right? It's not that there are other things I have no business messing with, but some of it just needs me to take care of because it's too much to ask someone else to care that much about it.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah.
So with the coffee shops, one of the things that I find not only bold, forward-thinking, hopeful, which obviously it's more than just hope when you're 11 years in, right?
Yeah,
obviously there's roots already planted.
Sure.
But the name your price concept as a pricing model, as a model for a business, it just seems like, boy, like a huge leap of faith, so to speak.
Okay, yeah.
Did you have any apprehension going into it, I presume, that model would actually stick, one, if at all, or maybe the conviction was so deep-rooted that, no, this is going to work, and sure enough it did.
Yeah.
But, was there any maybe apprehension initially with that model?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't come at Downtown CREDO thinking what I want is a workable coffee shop. I really did come at Downtown CREDO going, there's a CREDO that's built on these ideas of meaning, impact, and community. And a name your price coffee shop might be a good way to build that network of people. And so really the only way the coffee shop made sense is if it was name your price. Because there's something in that exchange when you come up to get a cup of coffee and you say, how much do I owe you? And the barista says, well, what would you like to pay today? That it changes your relationship to the coffee immediately. Every time people have to take a step back and they say, what do you mean? And the baristas come back with, we just think buying a cup of coffee is a big deal. And we wouldn't want to sell that to you. We want to let you name your price. We source all of our coffee directly so you know it's having a positive impact on the world. And so for me, if the name your price thing didn't work, I would go on and do something else. It wasn't that I really wanted to run a coffee shop. It's that I wanted to cultivate a network of meaning, impact, and community. And I thought a coffee shop might be a way to do that. And so I had the benefit of, one, coming at it that philosophically, and two, never having run a coffee shop before, never having started a business before. So I just told people my initial business model was just to spend less money than I was making. That's it, right? And as long as I'm making more money than I'm spending, it works, right? And I just had to keep controlling my expenses to fit inside of the revenue, and we just kept adding it as things grew. And then when I look back at it, I feel like Downtown CREDO just came into Orlando at just the right time. When Orlando was ready for a new kind of coffee shop, we slid into a space that the market was ready for. And as the coffee space has evolved in Orlando, our position has had to evolve a little bit. So now we can really be the social impact coffee space.
So over time, it's gotten better in that respect.
Yeah, I mean,
more impactful.
Well, I think like the coffee market in Orlando has proliferated. There's way more coffee shops now than there were 10 years ago, which means we have to nuance our position. We can't just be a cool place to hang out. We have to really educate people more on our social mission inside of our coffee. So like, for example, our Mexican origin that we have, 92% of what I spend on the coffee goes directly to the farmers. I mean, we figured out how to import directly from 30 families at the border between Chiapas and Mexico, between Mexico and Guatemala and Chiapas. They're indigenous families. They've always had this land on the side of this volcano, and they're growing coffee because it grows there naturally. And when we get them 92% of what we spend, they're able to elevate their quality of life. They're able to invest in their product and make it better. It's just a whole different ballgame than the way they would traditionally sell it. And so getting better at that and then getting better at telling the story here locally about that is our latest challenge, I think.
So that everybody's aware of what's
so they know
happening.
what the distinctive of CREDO is, so they continue to understand why they would name their price, you know? Because that name your price model works well when people understand what they're getting into. They build a relationship with the baristas. They understand that the coffee is worth paying for. They realize that because they want an afternoon iced latte, somebody had to pick the coffee in the mountains and carry it down. Somebody had to process it. Somebody had to ship it. Somebody had to roast it. Somebody had to brew it for them. Like, each cup of coffee is affecting dozens of people's lives. So when I pay my $5 for my iced latte, I can feel good that I'm affecting dozens of people every time.
And have you found that over the years, were you surprised, with this CREDO, that folks were not only receptive, but possibly more generous and more empathetic than you expected them to be prepared to be? Or?
Yeah, I don't think I really had a lot of expectation. Like, really, I came into it, I opened the coffee shop. I had never worked at a coffee shop before. I was behind the counter, and I would go to 24-hour Walmart in the morning and buy a pack of disposable cups because I had just enough cash to buy the cups for that day. I had very little expectation. I was just making it up as I went along. And as I've grown in my business knowledge and over the 10 years learned how to run a business, I think I am kind of surprised sometimes at the different ways that people engage the name your price model. We've changed the way that we talked about it. In general, I think that our ticket average is about the same as what they would pay somewhere else. So our average transaction is around $5, which I think is about what they would pay at any coffee shop. And so that's become pretty predictable. We can expect that per transaction, which I think is a testament to really people don't want to rip folks off. They just want a good deal, and they want to be a part of something larger than themselves. That's why they come to us.
So on one of the, I saw your homepage,
Yeah.
or your personal page, where you have a couple of the videos of previous interviews that you've done.
Oh, cool.
And there's a little patron testimonial. I forget the name of the young lady, but she was basically alluding to how, yeah, her purchasing power has impact via the transaction to buy the coffee.
Yeah.
But then the second part of that was alluding to how the coffee shop itself felt like an extension of her living room.
Oh, yeah.
And that really kind of like hit to heart. How do you even create that type of space for someone to compel that? You know, I'm sure many conversations behind the counter, but and I'm thinking that more than just the cause, that's probably a very important factor of these coffee shops sort of taking off, is that people feel like this is family, like this, I belong here.
Yeah.
So maybe can you speak into that a little bit?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of components that go into that, I feel like. The way the space is designed, who they talk to, how the experience is crafted. So that space, our original space in College Park, which we closed right at the beginning of the pandemic, was really focused on what would it feel like to put a direct trade coffee bar in the middle of your living room. And so we had it, felt very cozy. The way we set up, when you walk in, there's no obvious queue line. There's soft seating around and then hard seating as you go down. There's no menu boards behind the thing at all. You have to engage with the barista to talk about what you want to get. There's no impulse buys laid up in front of you, so that we're not trying to like merchandise and sell you things as soon as you walk in. So you walk in and you notice comfortable furniture, comfortable lighting, and then a coffee bar with a smiling face behind it and someone ready to get into a coffee shop. And so in the other locations that we've had, they're in a little bit differently trafficked locations. And so some of those components we try and keep. We have less soft seating, but we still don't have large menu boards because I found that when you have a menu board right above somebody's head, they walk and stand right in front of a person and look at the menu board and don't make eye contact. And remember, for me, I'm trying to give small steps towards meaning, impact, and community. I want people to connect and talk to each other. Mm-hmm. So we take out that menu board, and then we don't have a lot of impulse buys. So you're not walking in and feeling like you're being sold something right away. You're walking in and walking into a conversation. And then I tell people, the baristas that we put behind the counter are really important. I can teach you how to make great coffee. I can't teach you how to care about meaning, impact, and community. So we have to look for baristas who are pursuing meaning, impact, and community with their own lives that also want to make great coffee and serve it to people. And so we hire for culture and then train them to make great coffee. So I'm really proud of the people that we put behind the counter. We take that seriously, and I think that goes a long way to making someone feel like they're welcome in a space.
And that it's part of home.
Yeah, totally.
An extension of my living room. I was like, boy, that sounds nice, but is it true? You know, like, wow, that's kind of a big, big statement.
Well, coffee shops are kind of that way, like a corner bar or something. They build a group of people that this is their third place. They go to their home and their work, and they have a third place where they hang out. The coffee shop develops into that. And CREDO's really built on trying to cultivate community wherever we plant our flag. And so we really try and foster that with community events and getting to know people, introducing them to each other. One of my favorite things to do when I was a barista was to connect two people that were standing together at the counter, because I had had enough conversations to know their names and what they did, and I would introduce them to each other and then go make their coffee and try and get them into a conversation, so that it's a connecting point. You go there and you don't know who you'll meet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
We need more places like that.
Yeah, totally.
In our suburban, heavy Orlando community, even to this day, with all the sprawl.
Yeah.
So I guess I saw this presentation that you did. I believe it was Creative Mornings with Orange County Library System. And it was pretty interesting, right?
Cool.
Minimalism. And
you
gave a couple of book examples. I'm going to have to dig those. I'm not an avid reader, I will say that, but definitely the whole presentation was very interesting. Do you think the concept, I'm believing that it does, but I'm wondering, when you go to one of the coffee shops for downtown Credo, is it because maybe just happenstance? Maybe you just happen to be wanting coffee and you craved it. That may be fine for that one time, but why would you go back? I think that's okay. A lot of the elements that you already talked about. But I'm wondering if there's like a predisposition because I'm kind of seeking something. I'm already sort of the mindset. Do you get somebody that is not necessarily aiming to explore minimalism, maybe more consumer-minded, who goes there, kind of cool place, and kind of like almost like a phase, decides to go back, but then they start converting, sort of. Do you think that's an element of? I'm thinking that it does maybe happen organically.
Yeah.
Where it could create that sort of scenario, and it's not just so much that folks that gravitate to the coffee shops are already there. If that makes sense, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think for me, I hope that CREDO stands for something in the community, that when people see CREDO, they think of community involvement and they think of social action. And the notion is that people want to be a part of something larger than themselves. So when they have a choice of where they go to get a cup of coffee, they just as soon choose one that's connected to the world in a different kind of way. And so I think that resonates with people that come. I have heard stories of people saying that the name your price thing makes them uncomfortable, but they love the coffee. And so they keep coming back until they get comfortable with it. I have heard other people say, I like the place, but I can't handle the pressure of naming my price, so I don't come back. And that happens, and I'm okay with that. What I really love is that we can create a space where just by naming your price for a cup of coffee, you're having a positive impact, so that morning cup of coffee is a step towards becoming a person of impact in the world. And I think that comes through in layers over time, not all at once. People start to learn it the more they are around.
It's almost like an educational facility.
Yeah, hopefully.
With a coffee in your hand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We're changing minds, changing hearts. Have a cup of coffee.
That's right. Yeah.
By the way, here's a newspaper.
Yeah, that's funny.
But so tell us about this beautiful space that we find ourselves in. So this is a spin-off, right, of Downtown Credo. I'm not sure that, I believe after having seen 5 or 6 of your videos that this was never the vision per se, the brick and mortar place, even though a lot of the elements are already part of the coffee shops.
Yeah.
But can you tell us about what is going on here? Like, I've never been here before.
Oh, cool.
I'm familiar with the term incubator. It has sort of an incubator feel, but not quite. It's a society. Just elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, CREDO's goal, remember, is to cultivate networks of people around the principles of meaning, impact, and community. So we saw folks collaborating or working out of the coffee shop and felt like we could create a unique type of co-working society of people who recognize that their work and lives get better when they come alongside people that are different from them. And so this space, this building is kind of the headquarters for that. People have memberships in it, and then they have different type of work environments available for them based on that membership, whether they just drop in or they have a closed door office or they have weekend access. And then we do simple events that cultivate people getting to know each other and trying to cross-pollinate ideas and work opportunities. So the place is called CREDO Conduit because we feel like it's your conduit to something else.
And in those functions where they're together and they're offshooting ideas with each other, I guess that's where that cross-discipline, out-of-the-box thinking could come into your life, I suppose, if you're in an industry different than the other person.
Yeah, for us, it's like just creating a space where, kind of like in the coffee shops, where you have permission to talk to each other and get to know each other. So it's not a co-working space where you have to keep your head down and speak only to yourself. But you're encouraged because we have an interview process that brings people in that says they're interested in being a part of a community, not just having a desk to work at. And so the people who are here want to get to know people that are different from them. And we do lunches where you share your win for the month and a challenge that people might help you with for the month, and different ways to cross-pollinate ideas and build a network really of meaning, impact.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
With CREDO Conduit, I read that the society also like counsels builders, contractors.
Oh yeah, so we started to think about how this could fit into a multifamily building, how a co-working space or a coffee space could fit into a co-working building. And it's a little bit of what our coffee shop at the Nora building is in a retail space, and we feel like it creates value for the apartment building. that whenever you're building community, it's helpful for a multifamily space. And so that position there is just to say, we can help you think about how do you create community in your apartment building.
Which is so necessary.
Totally, yeah.
As I alluded to before, like I know that for a fact, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us live in suburbia, and it's like you say hi in the morning when you're taking out the garbage on Monday, and then you may say it again on Wednesday because it's recycle day.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's
That's it. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you see people's kids growing like every year, and you don't even know their names.
Totally.
So yeah, that's pretty cool for sure. Okay, well, and then another spin-off that I'd like to explore a little bit on is Rally, right? We talked, I think you alluded to it at the beginning. Tell us about some of the fellow graduates. I know it's a program. I believe 6 people are enrolled right now to the winter program. I'm not sure if it's over. But I took a look at their bio, super interesting, a lot of very innovative social enterprise ideas. Maybe speak on that acceleration program, and maybe if something comes to mind, maybe a testimonial, somebody that graduated a few years ago maybe and is impacting our community right now.
Yeah, so Rally is another way to cultivate a network of meaning, impact, and community. It's made possible by these group of Rally makers that donate to Rally to help fund its operations and then mentor the Rally fellows that come through. And our main program right now is a 4-month accelerator that we run twice a year, where we take in fellows from all over the world that are starting or growing new social enterprises. We call a social enterprise any organization, regardless of their structure, whether they're for-profit or nonprofit, that exists to solve a real social, economic, or environmental problem and has an earned income stream in their business model. So we have for-profits, nonprofits, benefit corporations, hybrid organizations, but the founder is motivated by solving a real problem, social, economic, or environmental problem, and then they're building a business model to support that. So one founder that comes to mind is a company called Squiggle Park, just because I was emailing with her earlier today. And they developed a learning platform that sits inside of a mobile game that helps kids advance their reading skills. The way they move forward in the game that they love is they answer simple reading comprehension tests, and they move forward in the game and get new pieces as they answer new reading comprehension questions. And the platform learns where they're at and moves the skill level up so that they are incentivized to learn new reading. Reading is such a key component of our schooling and learning. Another one that we worked with is called O-Town Compost. It's a local company where he brings a bucket, you put all your compostables in it, he takes it away, composts it, and weeks later brings back you new compost, right? And so rather than having to compost in your yard, you can reduce the waste in the landfill. Something like 50% of our landfill is compostable materials, right? So we can reduce the amount of stuff we're putting in the ground by partnering with O-Town Compost. So it's fellows starting all kinds of businesses, social enterprises, and we surround them with mentorship and try and get them ready for their next step. So at the end of the 4 months, they should come out ready for their first customer, a strategic partnership, an investment, whatever their next step in growth is.
And because the Rally mentors are also sponsoring the fellows, do they stay connected to those fellows through time past the program?
They can, definitely, and we've seen that happen. So as part of the 4-month program, we pair them with a couple of Rally makers who are their mentors through that 4-month period. And then several of them have stayed, several of them have gotten investments from the Rally makers. So, the largest companies that are raising $1 million plus, they're usually Series A or pre-seed round. And then some of them are just early starting. So One Orlando Alliance came through and developed a consulting, like a inclusion learning journey platform to sell to companies. That's why I knew One Orlando Alliance earlier when we were talking. So it's all over the place, but the central theme is they have a social enterprise idea, and we feel like we can help them grow with mentorship and resources.
And I like the fact that you're not delineating nonprofit versus profit. It's just Are you doing something good for the community with your idea?
Yeah, we feel like that the
I think that's
division
great.
between for-profit and nonprofit is becoming less important because people are expecting companies to own their social footprint. And people are becoming more interested in companies that have a double bottom line. And so it's less important whether you're for-profit or nonprofit. What's more important is that you're finding a customer and recruiting that customer to help address the issue that you care about. Yeah.
Somebody said recently in a recent conversation about focusing on the need.
Yeah, totally.
Focusing on the need. What is it that people need? I forget the context of the conversation, but that resonated with me.
Yeah, totally.
Versus monetizing anything. It's like,
Yeah.
are you addressing a specific need of the person?
Yeah.
One other aspect, another spin-off
Yeah.
of the many different branches, right, of CREDO,
Yeah.
is Orlando Together.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, on the immediate, at face value, I would imagine anytime that you're talking honest conversations on racial divisions
Yeah.
anywhere,
Yeah.
honest, yeah. Difficult, also.
Oh, yeah,
So,
sure, definitely.
can you just maybe talk about how difficult that process is, and just maybe some of the plans for I guess, further dialogue, or
Yeah, I mean,
where you're at
Orlando
with that?
Together was really born out of this realization that how much our racial identity shapes our experience of the world, and growing up in the area and not realizing what it meant that I grew up white, middle class, and from Lake Mary, right? Until I became friends with someone who grew up poor, black, and from the city. And realizing then that the systemic difference, how Orlando is divided along Division Street because we intentionally divided it that way for generations, and we're still living with that choice. So Orlando Together was me going, just convening some friends, again, building a network of people around this idea of what would happen if we had honest conversations looking at this division together. And so it's kind of become this ad hoc way or tool or mechanism for a few of us to convene conversations when it's important. So that's a partnership now with Demetrius Somerville and Haddock Family Foundation to look at when is the right time to continue to convene conversations around that.
Yeah, I loved your story on your after-school program experience, and I know folks can watch it online,
Yeah.
but I just thought that was very honest.
Oh yeah, for me it was
Very
just
honest.
I realized that if you don't disrupt your life on purpose, you'll end up naturally around people that are like you. And so 10 years ago when I started Downtown CREDO, I just made some intentional choices to disrupt the patterns of my life. Drive down different streets, reach out to different people, and build collaborations and then partnerships and then friendships, right? With people who are different from me. And in the course of that, I learned so much about the way we've built a culture, not only in Orlando, but around the country, but here in Orlando specifically, and what that means for me, for my kids, but also for people that live, 6 blocks from my house that have a totally different experience of the city because of the way they look and the choices that the city made for their families generations ago that they're reaping the benefit of now, or not, right? Yeah.
So as we come full circle and kind of wrap our great sit down together,
Yeah.
by the way, again, I'm super glad we're able to do this.
Yeah, me too, man.
Very, very, happy and
Yeah.
honored to sit down with you. So husband, father, and starter. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Oh yeah.
The simplicity, right? I don't know. It resonated with me.
Oh, cool.
Starter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is innate in you. What is next for Mr. Ben Hoyer? What is next for Downtown CREDO? Anything that you want to share with us, or aspirations?
Yeah.
Anything at all?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like I started Downtown CREDO almost reflexively. Like I'm here, I'm ready to do something, so I started something, and it was over the years where I realized that it took a couple years to realize that may not have been normal. That there's a certain personality type that does that first. That's why I count it as one of the top 3 things. Over time, I've had to discipline myself to not start every idea. And to kind of husband the ideas through that I've already started, right? And so right now, like the things I'm starting are we're building out a wholesale strategy for downtown CREDO. We have our own roaster. We have this great direct trade relationships that we want to make available to other places. Raleigh has just entered into a new partnership with Orange County, where we're going to focus on building local Orange County social entrepreneurs, right? And so we're going to double the number of fellows we take every year and have them be from Orange County. So I have a lot of work in front of me just with the projects that we've already started, and so it's a new phase for me of like maturing things rather than just starting new things, which I'm excited about.
Sure, it's already a very big enterprise, and I think good on you to, try to perfect, maybe it's not the word, but to add on different layers to what you already started. And
totally.
Well, I wish you continued success. It's really a great pleasure meeting you, and like I said, it's shameful that it took for me this long to familiarize with downtown CREDO and the CREDO, and I hope that myself, with what I'm doing, that I can, follow that CREDO as well.
Yeah, man, I'm glad we got to meet.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a great pleasure to have this sit down with Mr. Ben Hoyer. We will continue on our series on servanthood. Please tune in for further episodes on that series, as well as our series on music and the arts. I hope that you have been tuning in. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and sync up with us on all of our social media platforms. And also, I want to tell you that our website, www.inspiremovement.com, is now fully launched. Please tune in. These Inspire videos, as well as our fitness videos, are going to be showing up there, as well as on the YouTube channel. Again, thank you so much. It's always an honor and privilege, and I hope that you're doing fantastic. Thank you.